Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Arendelle, there lived two princesses, Elsa and Anna, whose bond was the heart of the royal family. Elsa, the elder, was born with magical powers to create ice and snow. From her earliest days, her powers were both wondrous and frightening. The delicate snowflakes she conjured danced in the air, sparkling like diamonds in sunlight. Yet at times, her magic erupted uncontrollably, freezing everything in its path. The royal castle was grand, with towering spires, golden halls, and gardens that stretched to the edge of the fjord. Within these walls, the sisters played together, laughed together, and shared countless moments of joy. Anna was spirited, full of curiosity and warmth, while Elsa's magic demanded caution and care. Their parents, wise and loving, guided them gently, teaching Elsa to control her powers while nurturing the inseparable bond between the sisters. As the years passed, Elsa's abilities grew stronger, yet so did her fear. She learned early that her magic, if unchecked, could cause harm. This fear, though protective, led her to isolate herself from Anna, shutting the castle doors and keeping her secret hidden. Anna, unaware of the full extent of Elsa's powers, often felt a pang of loneliness, yet her love for her sister never wavered. One winter's evening, on the eve of Elsa's coronation as queen, the castle prepared for grand celebrations. Flags and banners fluttered in the crisp air, lanterns illuminated the courtyard, and the aroma of freshly baked pastries filled the halls. Elsa, dressed in a shimmering gown of ice blue silk, stood at the balcony overlooking the fjord, a mix of anticipation and anxiety in her heart. She feared losing control of her powers in front of the world, yet she longed to live freely without hiding. As the coronation festivities commenced, the hall was filled with nobles and guests from distant lands. The air buzzed with excitement and music. Elsa, feeling overwhelmed by the attention, experienced a surge of emotion. Without intending to, a flurry of snow erupted from her fingertips, swirling into intricate patterns above the crowd. Panic spread as the magical ice began to cover the grand hall. Guests slipped on the floor as frost crept along the walls and windows, and a sudden chill filled every corner. Elsa, realizing she had lost control, fled the hall in desperation. Anna, full of concern and love for her sister, chased after Elsa through the castle corridors. She called out, her footsteps echoing, yet Elsa disappeared into the icy night before her. Outside, the kingdom lay under a blanket of snow, the fjord frozen solid, and the streets empty except for swirling snowflakes. Elsa, heart heavy with fear, climbed the mountains surrounding Arendelle, creating an ice palace atop the tallest peak. She believed solitude would protect everyone from her powers. Her palace sparkled under the moonlight, towers of ice reaching skyward, windows glowing with soft, cold light. Yet, despite its beauty, the palace was lonely, echoing with the silence of Elsa's isolation. Back in Arendelle, Anna was determined to bring her sister home. She donned her warmest cloak, gathered provisions, and embarked on a journey across the frozen wilderness. Snow swirled around her as icy winds bit her cheeks, yet her courage never faltered. She traversed frozen rivers, scaled slippery cliffs, and braved snow-laden forests, following the faint magical traces left by Elsa's powers. Anna's heart was guided by love, a warmth that no winter could extinguish. Along her journey, Anna encountered the effects of Elsa's uncontrolled magic. Small villages were covered in snow, animals struggled in the frozen landscape, and even the kingdom's gardens were encased in ice. Yet Anna's compassion shone through. She helped villagers clear pathways, warmed the shivering animals, and left behind messages of hope. Her selfless actions mirrored the love she felt for her sister, demonstrating that even in the harshest conditions, kindness could thrive. In the mountains, Anna finally glimpsed the magnificent ice palace. Its towers shimmered like crystal under the sunlight, yet its beauty was tempered by the solitude within. She entered cautiously, marveling at the delicate sculptures of ice flowers, glistening staircases, and frozen chandeliers. Each detail reflected Elsa's power and creativity, yet Anna sensed the loneliness that accompanied it. Elsa, seeing her sister approach, felt a mixture of fear and longing. She feared hurting Anna, yet deep within, she longed for connection, for the warmth of familial love that had always defined her life. Anna, unwavering, moved closer and reached out, her heart radiating warmth. As she touched Elsa's hand, a gentle thaw began. The ice palace shimmered with soft light, and snowflakes melted into droplets of water, returning warmth to the frozen halls. Elsa's fear began to ease, replaced by the reassurance of Anna's love. The magic of Elsa's heart transformed as she realized that love, not fear, was the true source of her power. Her ice softened, forming delicate bridges and sculptures that were beautiful, but no longer dangerous. The kingdom below slowly began to thaw. Snow melted from the streets, rivers flowed freely once again, and gardens revealed buds ready to bloom. The animals returned, chirping, scampering, and rejoicing in the warmth of spring's approach. Elsa's reconciliation with Anna ignited a profound change within her. No longer bound by fear, she embraced her powers fully, guided by the love of her sister. Together, the sisters returned to Arendelle, walking through streets sparkling with melted snow and singing streams. Villagers greeted them with joy, recognizing the bond that had restored balance to the kingdom. The royal family, witnessing the reunion, felt immense pride and relief. Elsa's control over her magic had grown, but more importantly, the love between the sisters had strengthened beyond measure. The castle, once cold and imposing, now radiated warmth and harmony. Families across Arendelle celebrated the lesson that love and compassion, especially within family, held a power greater than any magic. In the days that followed, Elsa used her powers with care and creativity, creating wondrous ice sculptures, dazzling fountains, and gentle snowfalls that brought joy without harm. Anna continued to support her, offering encouragement and love. Together, they transformed Arendelle into a kingdom of wonder, where magic and warmth coexisted in harmony. Beyond the castle walls, the kingdom flourished. Gardens bloomed, rivers sparkled, and the people lived in happiness and security. The love between the sisters became a symbol for all, a reminder that even the greatest challenges could be overcome with courage, compassion, and family bonds. Elsa and Anna ventured together into the forests, mountains, and fjords, sharing adventures that strengthened their bond and inspired everyone around them. Through storms and sunshine, snow and thaw, the sisters' love endured. It healed the land, brought hope to the people, and proved that the strongest magic was not in Elsa's icy powers, but in the warmth and courage of love shared between family. The kingdom thrived, not because of magic alone, but because hearts bound by love can overcome any obstacle. As years passed, Elsa and Anna continued to learn from each other. They guided Arendelle with wisdom and kindness, teaching the next generation the importance of compassion, courage, and unity. The story of Elsa's icy powers and Anna's unwavering love became legend, passed down from parents to children, a timeless reminder that family love is the most powerful force of all. The fjords reflected the golden light of the sun. Snow-capped mountains glistened in the distance, and Arendelle flourished under the gentle care of its princesses. Elsa's magic no longer brought fear, but wonder. Anna's bravery no longer brought worry, but joy. Together, their love had healed not only the kingdom, but also themselves, showing that the bonds of family are the truest magic of all. And so, the kingdom of Arendelle prospered, filled with laughter, warmth, and harmony. The sisters, hand in hand, continued to explore, create, and care, leaving a legacy of courage, empathy, and the unbreakable power of love. Even the harshest winter could not overshadow the light of their bond, and the tale of Elsa and Anna endured for generations as a magical reminder that love within a family is the strongest magic in the world. In a kingdom kissed by perpetual autumn, the air was always crisp with the scent of fallen leaves and warm spices. In the heart of this kingdom stood a grand castle, where young Prince Alder had grown up, surrounded by stories of magic and wonder. But hidden behind the golden halls and glittering chandeliers was a secret the kingdom had long whispered about in hushed tones: the curse of the amber pumpkin. Every heir to the throne, once they reached their 17th autumn, risked being transformed into a pumpkin by an ancient enchantment if their heart had not yet proven itself pure and brave. Alder had lived with the shadow of this curse all his life. On the day of his 17th birthday, just as twilight stretched its fingers across the castle towers, the enchantment awakened. In an instant, he felt his body harden, smooth into a rounded form, and shrink into the shape of a pumpkin glowing faintly with golden light. But the curse had one mysterious loophole. Each night, when the moon reached its highest point, Alder would regain his human form for a few hours. During these fleeting moments, he roamed the forest surrounding his home, silent and cautious, knowing that his very existence depended on surviving the nights until the curse could somehow be lifted. On the first night, as he wandered through the misty woods, Alder stumbled upon a soft glow, not far from a babbling brook. Sitting on a moss-covered stone was a young princess, cloaked in sapphire blue, her hair shimmering in the moonlight. She was Princess Lyra from a neighboring kingdom, known for her gentle heart and curiosity about the enchanted forests that bordered her lands. Neither spoke a word, yet both understood that magic had drawn them together. Alder's golden glow flickered, revealing the edges of his curse, and Lyra's eyes widened, recognizing the traces of ancient enchantment she had only read about in her grandmother's stories. Instead of fear, she showed trust. They approached each other slowly, their hearts attuned to the unspoken bond forming between them. That night marked the beginning of an unusual alliance. Together, they ventured deeper into the forest, where silver mist clung to the trees like delicate lace. The forest, alive with magic, held its breath as the duo encountered their first challenge, a tangle of whispering vines that shifted as if aware of intruders. They wrapped around branches, roots, and stones, forming an intricate maze. Lyra, sensing the pattern, began to hum a soft melody she had learned from her mother. Her voice carried a soothing magic that calmed the restless vines, allowing Alder to slip through with his pumpkin body, rolling carefully but swiftly, then transforming back into human form once the vines cleared. They emerged on the other side, breathless but triumphant. From the safety of a clearing bathed in moonlight, they realized the forest had tested them, gauging their courage, teamwork, and the strength of their hearts. Alder felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the curse. His heart lighter than it had ever been, buoyed by the presence of the princess, who understood the impossible circumstances he faced. As dawn approached, Alder began to fade back into pumpkin form, his golden surface glowing dimly. Lyra gathered him gently, cradling the magical pumpkin as she whispered encouragement. She promised, though no words were needed, that she would help him find a way to break the curse. Their bond, forged on that first night, grew stronger than any magic that sought to keep them apart. The second night arrived, draping the kingdom in deep indigo shadows. Alder, once again freed from his pumpkin form by the rising moon, rolled quietly through the castle garden and made his way to the forest's edge where Lyra awaited him. Without a word, they stepped into the woodland, where no path was fixed and magic shaped their every turn. The forest greeted them with rustling leaves and whispering branches. Moonlight filtered through the canopy, creating pools of silver on the mossy floor. But beneath this beauty lurked unseen eyes. Every step awakened ancient magic, and the pair felt a tingling mix of wonder and caution. Their first challenge appeared as a creature emerged from the shadows, the Shadow Vine Wraith, a spectral being made of twisting vines tipped with glowing amber thorns. It moved silently, radiating a cold, demanding presence. They could not pass unless they proved their courage and wisdom. Lyra stepped forward, drawing a tiny crystal prism blessed with morning light magic. She caught the moonlight through it, splitting the beam into soft, shimmering hues. The wraith recoiled with a soundless hiss. Alder extended his own golden glow, allowing his cursed magic to mingle with Lyra's light. Together, they balanced their powers into a delicate tapestry that wrapped the wraith in warmth rather than force. The creature softened, then vanished into a swirl of amber leaves. Breathing a sigh of relief, Alder and Lyra continued deeper into the forest, their trust in one another growing with every step. They crossed bridges made of twisting roots, waded through streams that glimmered with liquid moonlight, and walked beneath trees whose leaves shimmered like starlight. Every obstacle felt enchanted, not meant to harm them, but to teach a lesson, test their bond, or measure their patience and courage. Alder learned to trust Lyra's instincts, while Lyra learned to rely on the quiet strength hidden within Alder's cursed heart. Halfway through the forest, they reached a clearing unlike any they had encountered before. Moonlight poured over an ancient stone circle, etched with faint runes that pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm. At the center lay a perfectly still pool of water, reflecting the night sky like a mirror. The moment Alder stepped near, the golden glow of his curse thrummed, as if the circle's magic was calling to it. Lyra sensed immediately that this pool marked their next trial. As they moved closer, soft ripples spread across the water, and a towering figure rose. A pumpkin golem, larger than any tree, formed from twisted vines and anchored by a glowing core, much like Alder's cursed form. Its amber eyes watched them calmly. It wasn't hostile like the Shadow Vine Wraith. Instead, it carried the gentle weight of judgment. This trial demanded more than bravery. It required compassion and unity. Lyra knelt by the pool, dipped her hands into the cool water, and let it drip over the golem's vine-like feet. Alder stepped forward, extending his glowing hands, allowing the warmth of his golden curse to mingle with the creature's soft light. Slowly, the golem lowered its massive arms and bowed its head, acknowledging their combined courage and harmony. The stone circle vibrated softly, releasing waves of gentle magic through the clearing. For the first time, Alder felt calm within the curse, an understanding that it no longer saw him as an enemy, but as someone worthy of its trust. They rested in the clearing, catching their breath as fireflies gathered around them, floating like tiny lanterns. The forest seemed to exhale, alive with a quiet approval. In that moment, Alder felt a warmth deeper than magic, a warmth shaped by trust, bravery, and the growing bond with Lyra. But even in this moment of peace, they knew the journey was far from over. The curse remained unbroken. The trials had only begun. Deeper in the forest lay the heart of the enchanted grove, the source of the curse's strongest pull. They would have to face it together, relying on their shared wisdom, strength, and magic. And in the soft glow of the clearing, they silently understood that their true adventure was only beginning. As the moon climbed higher, Alder felt the familiar tug of the curse return, reminding him that his time as a human was fading. Lyra gently picked up his pumpkin form, carrying him through the forest's safer paths. In the quiet between trials, they planned their next steps, silently promising to face every challenge side by side. By the time dawn touched the treetops, they had survived their first night of true trials. Though the forest still held mysteries and dangers, Alder and Lyra had taken their first real step toward breaking the curse, and toward a bond that no darkness, no magic could sever. By the third night, Alder and Lyra had grown accustomed to the rhythm of the curse. Each evening, the prince transformed from a pumpkin into a human under the moon's silver gaze, and each night brought them deeper into the heart of the enchanted forest. The bond between them had strengthened. Trust and companionship now flowed as naturally as the streams that shimmered in the moonlight. Yet, the forest's challenges were becoming far more complex, testing not just courage, but creativity, intuition, and the strength of their hearts. The moon hung high and full, casting a silvery sheen across the landscape. As they ventured further, the air grew thick with magic, and the trees began to shift subtly, their roots rising like gentle waves across the forest floor. Here, the enchantments were alive in a more tangible way. Glowing orbs hovered mid-air, and whispers of ancient spells drifted on the breeze, guiding them, and sometimes misleading them, toward the forest's deeper secrets. Suddenly, a chill spread through the air. The whispers became louder, more urgent. Out of the shadows emerged a forest titan, an enormous creature of living wood, its bark rough and knotted, eyes glowing faintly like amber embers. Branches twisted like arms, leaves rustling with each movement. The titan did not speak, but its sheer presence radiated authority and challenge. The forest trembled beneath its weight. Alder's glow flared instinctively, warning that this was a trial of the most dangerous sort. Lyra took a step forward, feeling the pulse of magic emanating from the titan. They approached cautiously, noticing a circle of stones around the titan, etched with glyphs that shimmered faintly. The creature moved slowly, positioning itself at the center. It was not attacking, but it demanded a demonstration of true courage. Alder realized that brute force or magic alone would not suffice. This was a test of heart and ingenuity. Lyra reached into her pouch and retrieved a vial of moonlight dew, a rare liquid said to amplify the natural harmony of the forest magic. She poured a small drop on the ground, and the dew spread in a silver shimmer across the stone circle. Alder mirrored her movements, tracing patterns in the air with his hands, letting the golden glow of the curse flow outward. Their combined magic intertwined, creating a luminous bridge of silver and gold arcs over the Titan. The Titan shifted its massive limbs, observing. Then, in a sudden movement, it raised one arm, and a barrier of thorned roots erupted from the ground, blocking the forest path. Alder felt panic rise. If the roots continued to grow unchecked, he could become trapped and fail to return to human form before dawn. Lyra's eyes met his, and in that moment, they understood. Cooperation and trust were the only way forward. They combined their magic in a new way. Lyra's moonlight dew glimmered as she channeled her energy into the roots. Alder's golden glow pulsed in rhythm with the forest, reaching into the very veins of the Titan's ancient wood. The roots began to retract, curling back into the earth, leaving the path clear. The Titan lowered its head slightly, acknowledging their bravery and unity. The air shimmered with approval as the forest accepted their triumph. But the challenges were far from over. As they ventured further, the whispering winds carried a new danger. The harvest wraiths, lost spirits of the cursed pumpkin heirs who had failed to break the curse centuries ago. These spectral beings swirled like fog, their faint amber glows flickering erratically. The wraiths were neither hostile nor forgiving. They tested the purity of intent and the depth of emotion within Alder's heart. Each spirit approached silently, presenting visions of fear, regret, and doubt. Alder felt the pull of the curse intensify. The more the wraiths lingered, the harder it became to maintain his human form. Lyra held his hand firmly. Her presence anchored him, grounding him against the tide of fear. She used her magic to weave a protective circle of light, pushing back the wraiths gently without harming them. Together, they navigated the haunted glade, Alder's golden glow steadying the frightened spirits, Lyra's light guiding them to peace. One by one, the wraiths vanished, leaving only faint glimmers of gratitude behind. Exhausted but undeterred, they finally arrived at the heart of the enchanted grove, a secluded glade dominated by a colossal, glowing tree whose roots pulsed with the same amber magic as Alder's curse. The air vibrated with power. The energy here was raw, ancient, and overwhelming. Alder's heart raced, for he sensed that the source of the curse was here. Lyra's hands glowed faintly, and she drew upon every bit of knowledge she had gained from her studies of forest magic. As they approached the heart tree, the ground trembled. The curse itself manifested as a swirling vortex of amber mist, reaching for Alder, attempting to bind him forever in pumpkin form. The prince struggled, but Lyra stepped forward, channeling both her moonlight dew and her own innate magic. She created a stream of silver light that wrapped around the amber tendrils, pushing them back with gentle yet unyielding force. Alder joined her, directing his golden glow into the center of the vortex. Their combined magic, silver and gold intertwined, fought against the curse's pull. The vortex resisted violently, throwing up walls of shadows and streams of fiery leaves, but the two worked in perfect unison. Lyra's calm, steady presence and Alder's courage sustained the spell, gradually weakening the curse's hold. After a tense and exhausting struggle, a blinding flash of warm light erupted from the heart tree, sending ripples of magic across the entire grove. The amber mist dissipated, the curse's energy collapsing into a single glowing seed that hovered in the air. Alder, exhausted but unharmed, felt the final threads of the curse dissolve. The pumpkin curse was broken. The forest exhaled a long, gentle sigh. Leaves shimmered, fireflies danced, and the heart tree's glow softened into a warm, golden light. The harvest wraiths, now freed, drifted peacefully toward the sky, their forms dissolving into glittering specks of starlight. The Titan bowed deeply, and the pumpkin golem knelt briefly in acknowledgement. The forest itself had recognized their bravery, compassion, and unity. Alder and Lyra stood together in the clearing, breathing in the tranquil night air. The prince no longer felt the tug of transformation. His human form was permanent. Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting both relief and pride. Together, they had faced the forest's deepest magic, the most formidable creatures, and the curse itself, and they had emerged victorious. As dawn approached, the first light of morning bathed the grove in soft gold. The adventure of the forest was over, but the bond forged between prince and princess had only deepened. They knew that their journey would continue back in their kingdom, where Alder would reclaim his throne and Lyra would stand beside him, both as a partner and as a guardian of magic and harmony. After overcoming the trials of the enchanted forest, Alder and Lyra began their journey back to the kingdom. The curse had weakened, and the prince no longer feared his transformation. Even the creatures they once battled appeared briefly, as if offering their approval before fading into the woods. When the castle came into view, Alder felt the final tug of the curse. Lyra led him to the moonlit garden to perform the last ritual. Kneeling side by side, they traced a magic circle and placed the moonlight dew at its center. Their voices blended in a steady chant, Lyra's soft silver magic and Alder's warm golden light merging into a sphere of shimmering energy. Shadows of past failures appeared, trying to hold Alder back, but the two stayed focused. Slowly, the amber threads of the curse unraveled and dissolved. With one final burst of light, the curse was completely broken. The castle bells rang, birds soared, and the kingdom seemed to exhale in relief. Crowds filled the streets to welcome Alder home. Lyra walked beside him, their bond clear to everyone watching. The king and queen embraced their son, overjoyed that the generations-old curse had finally ended. At sunset, Alder and Lyra were crowned together. Lyra became the princess of the Harvest Realm, honored for her courage and wisdom. Later that night, they returned to the garden, now simply two partners walking forward with shared purpose. Under their reign, the kingdom flourished. Every autumn, people celebrated the tale of the Pumpkin Prince and the brave princess who freed him. The forest, once a place of trials, became a sanctuary of memories and magic. And so, the curse was lifted forever. Alder and Lyra ruled with kindness and unity, their story remembered as a testament to courage, compassion, and the light that grows when hearts stand together. On a calm winter morning, snowflakes drifted softly from the sky, covering the world in a gentle blanket of white. Inside a beautiful castle, the queen sat near a tall wooden window, admiring the snowy landscape. As she worked on her needlecraft, she accidentally pricked her finger. 3 tiny drops of red fell onto the snow outside the window. The sight was so lovely that she wished for a child with skin as white as the snow, lips as red as the drops of blood, and hair as black as the polished wood of the window frame. Her wish came true when she gave birth to a baby girl named Snow White. The little princess was gentle and charming from the very start, and the queen loved her dearly. But soon after, the queen fell ill and passed away, leaving the king heartbroken and Snow White motherless. After some time, the king married again. His new queen was elegant and striking, admired for her beauty everywhere she went. Yet her heart was filled with pride. and she cared deeply about being the most beautiful person in the entire kingdom. She owned a magic mirror that spoke the truth, and she relied on it to confirm her beauty again and again. Snow White grew into a sweet, graceful child who loved everyone around her. She was polite, hardworking, and compassionate. As she reached her teenage years, she became even more beautiful every day. Her kindness made her glow in a way that touched everyone she met. But the Queen began to feel threatened. At first, she simply noticed Snow White's beauty with mild concern. Soon, the admiration others felt for Snow White made her jealous. Her heart filled with worry that the princess might one day surpass her. When her mirror told her that Snow White had indeed become the fairest in the land, the Queen's envy grew so intense that she lost all kindness within her. Unable to bear the thought of Snow White outshining her, the Queen decided to remove her forever. She summoned a huntsman and ordered him to take Snow White deep into the forest and leave her there. The huntsman led Snow White into the woods, but he could not bring himself to harm the innocent girl. He urged her to run to safety and never return to the castle. Snow White, frightened and confused, ran into the forest. The trees loomed high above her, their branches forming dark shapes that rustled in the cold wind. Strange animals peered from behind bushes. Twisted roots curled across the forest floor like sleeping snakes. Every sound made her heart jump. After wandering for a long time, Snow White discovered a small clearing where the sunlight peeked through the leaves. In the center of the clearing stood a tiny cottage with a cheerful garden and a plume of smoke rising from its chimney. Snow White stepped closer, drawn by the warmth and safety it seemed to promise. Inside, everything was small and adorable. The chairs, the table, the dishes, and the 7 little beds lined neatly in a row. The room was cluttered with tools, cups, and crumbs. Wanting to be helpful, Snow White cleaned the cottage with gentle care. She swept the floor, washed the dishes, and tidied every corner. When she felt too tired to keep going, she curled up across the 7 small beds and fell into a deep sleep. As sunset painted the sky orange and pink, 7 dwarfs returned from their work in the gemstone mines. They marched toward the cottage with tools on their backs and dust on their boots. When they saw the door slightly open and the room unusually tidy, they looked at one another with surprise. Once inside, they found Snow White asleep in their bedroom. Her peaceful face softened their hearts immediately. They sensed she was kind and in need of help, so they decided to let her stay. When Snow White awoke, they welcomed her warmly. Feeling safe for the first time in hours, Snow White shared her story with them. The dwarfs promised they would protect her if she stayed with them. Snow White quickly became part of their little home. She cooked simple meals, kept the cottage tidy, and filled it with laughter and warmth. The dwarfs, in return, cared for her like family. Every morning they went to the mines, and every evening they came home, excited to sit around the table with the cheerful princess who brought light into their days. But far away in the castle, the Queen stood before her mirror again. She expected it to assure her that she was the fairest in the land. Instead, she learned that Snow White was still alive, living with the dwarfs in the forest. Rage flashed through her mind as jealousy consumed her once more. She decided that she herself would finish the task. Using her knowledge of dark magic, the Queen created a powerful potion that transformed her into an old woman with wrinkled skin, grey hair, and frail hands. In this disguise, she took a small basket filled with goods and headed toward the dwarf's cottage. Snow White was alone when she heard a gentle knock. She had promised the dwarfs to be careful, but her kind nature made her curious. Outside stood the disguised queen, who appeared weak and harmless. The old woman held a small wooden comb decorated with colorful stones. It looked beautiful, and the queen pretended to offer it as a simple gift. Snow White allowed her inside. As soon as the queen gently brushed Snow White's hair with the comb, the young princess collapsed. The comb was soaked in poison. The queen left with satisfaction, believing her plan had finally worked. When the dwarfs returned, they discovered Snow White lifeless on the floor. They searched her carefully and found the comb stuck in her hair. Suspecting it was enchanted, they immediately removed it. Snow White gasped, and her eyes slowly fluttered open. She woke with trembling fear as she realized how close she had been to danger. The dwarfs begged her not to open the door to anyone again. Snow White promised she would follow their warning. But the queen, back in the castle, soon learned from her mirror that Snow White was still alive. Fury twisted inside her like a storm. She decided to use the most dangerous spell she possessed. She created a bright red apple so beautiful that no one could resist it. But inside, she hid a deadly sleeping curse, one strong enough to send Snow White into an endless slumber, unless broken by true love. Disguising herself as a kind old woman once again, she carried the apple deep into the forest. When she reached the cottage, she offered Snow White the glowing fruit. Snow White hesitated, remembering the dwarf's warning. To deceive her further, the queen took a bite from the harmless side of the apple to show that it was safe. Snow White, feeling reassured, accepted the fruit and took a bite from the poisoned side. The effect was immediate. Snow White collapsed, her body falling as softly as a petal from a flower. Her breathing stopped, and the room became still. The queen walked away in triumph, convinced this time nothing could save the princess. As she crossed a dangerous mountain path, storm clouds gathered above her. Thunder roared, lightning struck a boulder nearby, sending it crashing down. The queen slipped and disappeared into the deep valley below, ending her cruelty forever. When the dwarfs returned, they found Snow White lying on the floor, still and cold. No matter what they tried, they could not wake her. She looked peaceful, as if she were in the deepest sleep, her cheeks still rosy and her hands gently folded. Believing she was gone forever, the dwarfs wept with broken hearts. They could not bring themselves to bury her, for she looked so serene and beautiful, like she might open her eyes any moment. Instead, they built a glass coffin trimmed with gold so that everyone could see her purity. They carried it to a hill covered with flowers and kept watch over her day and night. Time passed. Seasons flowed like pages in a storybook. Snow covered the ground in winter, blossoms welcomed spring. Warm winds filled the air in summer, and golden leaves danced in the fall. Snow White remained unchanged, glowing softly inside her glass coffin. One day, a prince traveling through the forest noticed the coffin sparkling under sunlight. He approached with wonder, seeing Snow White resting inside, her face gentle and calm. He felt a deep admiration for her purity and kindness. The dwarfs, who had grown to trust the prince, agreed when he asked permission to take Snow White to his castle so she could be honored and cared for. As the prince's attendants lifted the coffin, they stumbled slightly on a root. The sudden movement caused the piece of poisoned apple lodged in Snow White's throat to loosen. She took a faint breath. Her chest rose softly. Then her eyes opened, bright and alive once more. The dwarfs and the prince were overwhelmed with joy. Snow White, awakening from her long sleep, smiled with warmth and gratitude. She was finally safe. Not long after, Snow White and the prince celebrated a beautiful union, surrounded by happiness and kindness. The dwarfs were treasured guests, and Snow White never forgot their love and loyalty. She lived with the prince in a bright, peaceful palace, filled with gardens, sunlight, and songs. The dwarfs continued to visit her often, and she kept their cottage in her heart forever. Snow White's story became a gentle reminder that goodness shines even in dark times, and that courage and kindness have the power to overcome jealousy and fear.